It's all right. No, really, you'll like it. It will grow. It'll grow on you. It's really good music. It's one of my favourites. Yeah, just don't worry about it. Just sit down, give it some time, give it a good listen. Yeah, don't worry about it.
I often hear people saying that their meditation practice wasn't making them happy, and which is true. Meditation practice is really not really designed to achieve anything, but enable us to understand where happiness really comes from. We understand how to notice the roots of happiness. Meditation itself, from my own experience, doesn't necessarily make one happy. And the Buddha's teaching is very clear on this. It begins, he asks people to begin their path. Opening to the path is one of being generosity, helping others, being giving of our time and our energy. There's nothing that brings more joy than the opportunity to give. And I think most of us can really relate to that. But in these recent times, it's interesting to hear more often people telling me that in these times, they seem very poor, they don't have much to give, they feel incapable, they're not empowered enough to be able to give very much, and the sense of frustration, I'd like to give but I can't, kind of thing. So reflecting on this a little, and I was remembering very clearly my days in my monastic training. Many of you know that one of my favourite occupations in the West was going on something we call tudong. I'd take my bowl and robes and we'd wander across the English countryside without handling money. I wouldn't even take a tent. It was just a sort of shoulder bag, my robes and a bowl, and we'd travel across the countryside living on alms food. So each morning we would, as is the tradition, we'd find ourselves a place where food was available. We would have to finish eating before noon to have a time slot. We'd walk into the town. Generally, I would always go with another monk, because a monk on his own is a bit of a freak, really, especially in the West. But if you go as a pair, people see us more like a movement, two of them. And we would stand somewhere in the middle of the town, perhaps near a supermarket or places where people are buying their food, and we would just stand there with a bowl and wait. Out of my practice was I've never advised people really what I was doing, never notice up or anything like that. We'd just wait for a while, and sure enough, after people would often walk past and look very curious, unsure, but eventually communication usually began with someone coming to give us some money. Not that I was asking for that, but it was the first step. Then they'd offer me maybe a 50p coin, and I'd say thank you very much, very kind of you, but I don't accept money. We don't accept money. And generally I'd let them be with that, and they'd, being English, they'd say, "Oh, I'm very sorry," and then they'd go away, and then they wouldn't go very far away, and they'd watch and they'd think, curious, and they'd come back and they'd say, "Well, what is it you're doing here?" And I'd say, "Well, I'm collecting food for my meal of the day, alms food," and they go, "Oh wow, okay," they'd go away, maybe spend £5 on food, sandwiches or something like that, and they come back, and I lift the lid of my bowl and then put a little offering in, and virtually every time they would give the food to me, they would say thank you to me. And I thought, wow, they seem very pleased, so happy to be able to give. And I would often give them a sort of translation of the Pali blessing. And I would say very simply, I'd say, well, the Buddha said that a generous person is a happy person. Now you understand, and they'd go, oh no, and I could see them walk away as if their feet weren't touching the ground. It's like every time they seem so happy to have that opportunity. So my message is that necessarily we don't need we can encourage people to be generous by asking for help. It's not that we have to be in a position where we're always the great benefactor, but more often than not, as I discovered on the almsround, especially in the West, people love the opportunity to give. It lightens their heart. They feel they've offered something that's appreciated and well received, and they've done something, and they're just very happy to do that. And so I realised that in my life, living as a mendicant, I was offered people the opportunity to be generous and be very happy with doing that. And so I walk around for a few weeks or so with my robes and bowl, and I was well looked after, I was nourished, I was felt very cared for, very loved by complete strangers. And at the same time, there was this reciprocal, there's this exchange where in my doing that, I brought them happiness. So perhaps what I'm saying is that actually one of the things we can do to really help people's happiness is to ask for help, to be willing, open for other people to help us, especially times when things are hard, to give them an opportunity to support us. It's not like often in the West there's this kind of weakness, the sense that, oh no, I don't want to ask for help, I don't want to do that. But actually, if you really look at it, when you have the opportunity to help someone, how good we feel, then actually, some of the closest associations and friendships I've made has often begun with that coming to help them. So asking for help is something that can also be a gift for others, to find that space in their hearts to move into your space and help you out and be happy with that. So in this respect, maybe asking for help can be a blessing, not a burden. Our life can be a blessing, and we're not a burden. What do you think?